More questions than answers this morning, and a luxury vacation turned nightmare for two American newlyweds. 36-year-old Christie Chen found dead in her Fiji hotel room.
Welcome back, and thanks for being here. The islands of Fiji are so beautiful that it's probably exactly what you would think of when you hear the word paradise. So it's one of the last places on Earth that you would expect a brutal murder to occur. But that's exactly what happened in today's story, and on the couple's honeymoon too. Christie Chen was an only child, and she was born in August of 1985. She loved traveling with her mother on extravagant trips, and she was said to be a super sweet, kind, outgoing, generous, and fun person. Her many friends said that she didn't have a bad bone in her body and always wanted everyone to feel like they were included. She was the kind of person who could make friends with anyone. Christie was also said to be very close to her family, especially her mother. She additionally loved dogs as well as running marathons. Christie had attended Christian Brothers University in Memphis, where she studied to be a pharmacist. While attending school, she had worked as a baker, but upon graduating, Christie began working as a pharmacist at a local Kroger. In November of 2021, 36-year-old Christie Chen started dating 38-year-old Bradley Dawson, who was an IT specialist for a Memphis-based nonprofit company. They had met while both helping plan a friend's bachelorette party, and they had bonded over their love of long-distance running. Christie and Brad quickly fell in love and would get married only months after meeting on February 18th, 2022. They got married in Memphis, Tennessee, and they had a beautiful wedding, even feasting on shrimp and steak at the reception. The couple seemed extremely happy on their special day. Now, Christie's friends were worried that she had married a man whom she had just met, but they were hoping for the best and that she had actually found true love. Not only was their courtship extremely short, but Bradley had actually just gotten his divorce from his first wife finalized the month prior in January. This marriage had only lasted 2 years. And it's said that he had actually married his first wife in the same place that he was going to take his honeymoon with his new wife, Christie. Following their wedding, Christie and Brad had also bought a $250,000 house together in Memphis. The couple, however, decided to wait to take their honeymoon until July, a trip that Christie's parents reportedly paid for, and they decided to travel to the islands of Fiji, where they would stay at Turtle Island, a posh resort where villas start at $2,100 a night, with a 5-night minimum. The luxury resort offers private villas to only 14 couples at a time, and guests will usually arrive to the island via seaplane. It's also the same resort where the 1980s movie Blue Lagoon with Brooke Shields was filmed. Christie was so excited to be spending her honeymoon in paradise with the love of her life. She couldn't wait to go. As I had said, Bradley had actually previously gotten married in Fiji, and he and his ex-wife had stayed at the exact same resort as well, something that Christie was said to have not known about. Little weird to get married there, have that marriage fail, and then decide to take your honeymoon there again. On July 8th, a day after arriving in Fiji, Christie and Brad attended a party at the resort called Family Fun Night. They had both been enjoying themselves, but as they had more drinks, tensions arose between the couple, and Bradley started dancing inappropriately with another woman who was at the party. On his honeymoon. The couple ended up leaving the party, but their argument continued onto the beach, before they then headed back to their private bungalow close to midnight. Not long after that, the guest in the bungalow next to them, which was quite a few feet away as you can see in the picture, heard arguing, a loud scream, and then silence. The next morning, both Christie and Brad missed breakfast, and then lunch as well. When their personal butler noticed the couple's absence, she went to their bungalow to check on things. When she walked into the room, it looked like it was empty, but then she turned and looked in the bathroom, and there she saw Christie's battered and bloodied body, squished and slumped into a tiny space between the toilet and the wall. The toilet's water lid tank was also off of the toilet and cracked and broken, and Bradley was nowhere to be seen. Christie had suffered multiple traumatic injuries to her body and shoulders, lacerations to her face, and blunt force trauma to her head. The butler immediately contacted the police, and when they arrived, they found that Brad had left behind his GPS watch and his mobile phone. He, however, had taken his wallet and passport with him wherever he went. Bradley had actually been seen walking the length of Turtle Island in the early morning hours, sometime between 2 and 3 a.m. He was then seen walking back towards his and Christie's private bungalow. But even though he had been so close by just hours ago, Bradley wouldn't end up being found for another 36 hours. He would be spotted on July 10th around 3 p.m., and it looked like he had been trying to make his way to Fiji's main island. Brad had taken a kayak and traveled about 1.2 miles to another Fijian island, but had been seen before he could make it any further. The kayak that he said he had taken was never recovered. At the time he was found, Bradley had on him his passport, a credit card that belonged to Christie, his ID, Christie's ID, and $1,000 in cash. A manager at the hotel who had been at the same party the night before called Fiji police force in the nearby city of Lautoka on Marakawa Levu Island, just under an hour from an international airport. This manager had been the one to find Bradley after he had bumped into him. Bradley at the time was bruised and bleeding from his palms and feet, which to the manager at first looked like it could have just been from him falling on some coral. The resort manager was very surprised to even see Bradley on the island, as it's not an island that tourists often travel to. It's mostly just locals. He also noticed that Bradley reeked of alcohol and had a somewhat disturbed look on his face. Regardless, Bradley was adamant that he was fine. The manager, however, insisted that he sit down, and he gave him some water while he went and contacted the police. Now, Bradley didn't come out and say that he had killed his new wife, Christie, but he kept saying over and over that they had had a fight. A team of 3 police officers soon arrived at Marakawa Levu Island to take Bradley back to Turtle Island, and then to Lautoka on Fiji's main island, where he was held and charged with murder. Christie's parents would arrive in Fiji just days after being informed about their daughter's death. When they saw her body at the morgue, they were shocked. They could not believe how badly she had been beaten. It was in fact so bad that it was said they were not able to embalm Christie. Apparently, she had suffered deep lacerations to the side of her head and near her eyes that the embalming fluid would have leaked out of. Though this is disputed by morticians in the United States who said that they can pretty much embalm anybody. Either way, her parents ended up having her remains cremated before they then flew back to the United States with her. Christie's family is extremely distraught, and their family lawyer said that if for some reason Bradley is not held criminally responsible, they will take civil action, as well as possible legal action against Turtle Island Resort. According to police, shortly after his arrest, Bradley admitted to killing his wife, but he refused to sign a written statement of that confession. And after hiring an attorney, Bradley claimed he had never made a confession to police at all. However, he also refused to provide investigators with a sample of his DNA. Instead, Bradley detailed the events of the night, including what he reportedly called a violent, drunken scuffle that had left Christie injured but still alive shortly before he had left the island on his kayak. Bradley's story was that on the night of the party, Christie had some shots. He decided he wanted some kava and then to dance to the entertainment. He and Christie had then headed back to the bungalow following that. He said there was also an argument on the way, but he was so drunk he couldn't recall what it was about. He said that when the pair got back to their bungalow, they changed for bed, and he tried to give Christie a hug to make up for their argument, but she didn't want one, and questioned whether or not she still wanted to be with him. Then, according to Bradley, their argument had moved to the bathroom, where Christie pushed him, and he lost it. They had a scuffle. Bradley said the back of the toilet broke, and glass from a window also broke. And when their fight was over, Christie was sitting in between the toilet and the wall. He said she was hurt and was sitting down with some blood and a cut on her face. But he again insisted that Christie had been alive when he'd left the bungalow. Bradley additionally said that when he took the kayak and went to another island, he had done this so that his wife could calm down. He said he would normally take walks when they got into an argument, so this was just his typical behavior. According to Bradley, he and Christie had never had any physical altercations in their relationship. They'd only really been together for an entire 8 months, so I guess, okay, good. Had she not died, this would have just been the beginning, I'm sure. An ex-girlfriend of Bradley's would also say that she had dated him while attending the University of Tennessee. And while he could be charming, when he drank, he became someone else entirely. Bradley would black out and then do things that he could not remember the next day. She also said that he was very manipulative.
Michael, Kristen Baker dated Bradley Dawson for about a year, and they didn't speak much in the years after that. But after seeing Bradley accused of murdering his new wife last month, Baker felt compelled to speak out.
This morning, as American Bradley Dawson begins his 23rd day in a Fiji jail cell, charged with murdering his new wife on their honeymoon in paradise, ex-girlfriend Kristen Baker is speaking out about her relationship with Dawson after she says they began dating in 2005 when they were both undergrads at the University of Tennessee.
I fell madly in love, and it was definitely intense and fast.
But she claims Dawson could sometimes be jealous and controlling, and that on one occasion he pushed her.
When I really did want to leave him, he did push me down once on the bed and chased me. He was very verbally manipulative and threatening and jealous.
Oddly, Bradley had no criminal history in Tennessee other than a speeding ticket in 2016. Currently, Bradley is sitting in a jail cell in Fiji awaiting his trial, which could still be delayed at least another year, while his lawyer attempts to get the statements he allegedly made to police following his arrest erased from the record.
Christie was one of those people that the moment that you met her, it's that unique connection where you feel like you've really known this person throughout your entire life.
Dawson appeared before the local magistrate and remains in custody at a corrections facility.
When Americans travel to foreign countries and are alleged to have committed a crime, in this case murder, the local authorities will use their process. Mr. Dawson's going to be in Fiji for a long time before this case is resolved one way or the other.
Bradley also petitioned to be released on bail and stay in Fiji pending his trial, but that was rejected by a judge. Good. Fiji is way too nice of a place for him to be able to stay after he did that to his wife. Stay in jail. Apparently, one of the reasons why the judge had said no to this was because he was planning on staying with a man in Fiji who is currently facing rape charges. Christie's parents, of course, were very happy that he was refused bail. And while he sits in jail awaiting his trial, Bradley has said, "What I can say is I'm sorry for the situation we are all going through now. We were supposed to have amazing holidays and I lost my wife. Just thinking she is not here anymore is so painful. I'm thinking of her all the time. We were supposed to have an amazing life." Well, that's your fault. It's all your fault. He added that he is praying every day for his wife and then called her his everything. Bradley's lawyer is saying that he had something surprising and horrendous happen to him on his honeymoon, and that Bradley couldn't even talk for days afterwards because he was so upset about losing his wife. At one point, Bradley's lawyer even said that his client had fled the island because of the shock he was in from losing his wife, which doesn't make sense because according to Bradley's story, his wife was still alive when he fled the island. So I'm not sure who his lawyer is going to try to pass the blame onto, because it was just Bradley and Christie, and she certainly did not do that to herself. Bradley Dawson's trial was scheduled to start in June of 2024. However, it was postponed for a second time until September of 2024. Whatever happens next, friends of Christie's are heartbroken and angry. One friend named Presley Powers said, "Christie was the sun. She brought so much joy. It enrages me that this happened. She always wanted kids, and she would have been a sensational mother. I just pray for justice for her and for her family. This is unforgivable." Going on your honeymoon is supposed to be one of the happiest times of anyone's life. And poor Christie thought that that was exactly what was going to happen. Instead, she ended up dead by the hands of the person whom she thought loved her. They had only known each other for 8 months prior to this honeymoon. So I'm assuming this was probably their first big fight, and Christie had no idea the monster that she had gotten herself involved with. If you like true crime, don't forget to subscribe now to A Wicked World and turn on all your notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video, which is at least twice every week. Thanks for watching today. Until next time, take care. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon. So check it out at patreon.com/awickedworld or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims never get forgotten and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Do you have a suggestion for a case you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email at awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.